Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Becky here from Ivy's Corner and I'm going to be drawing a tangle today that is a nice one for a bit of texture, a little bit of sort of drama, and it's a really fun one to do. And that tangle is called Nipa. It's a Zentangle HQ tangle and I am going to show you how to draw it. So in front of me I have my 2-inch square tile, I have Micron PN, I have a Zentangle pencil and a tortillon as ever, and I'm going to start off by drawing just some dots and a border to demonstrate this tangle for you. Now obviously when you're drawing this in your tiles you will probably have a space in which to fill, but I just like to do a little dots and a border to give me a space to tangle in and show you how I like to draw this particular pattern. We're not going to do a string. I'm going to dive straight in and I'm going to pick up my pen and draw a series of nice big orbs. So well, some will be big, some will be smaller, but I'm going to start off and draw these lovely orbs, taking my time to make sure they're nice and circular, or as circular as I can make them. And they're going to vary in size, and I'm going to kind of just scatter them randomly across the space that I have here. Some of them might disappear off of the tile, some of them will be a little bigger, some smaller, and let's do another one here. And maybe, yeah, no, that's fine. We're going to do that. And then we're going to, once we've drawn our orbs, we're going to then start to fill in the background sort of area that we have. And I'm going to do that by drawing a nice swirly line in and around these orbs that we've placed. So kind of randomly, nice kind of wiggly line down the middle. And then we're going to just start to aura this line quite finely. And going to continue to do that across the whole tile to fill up the background with these swirls. And I'm going to just take my time and work to create this sort of texture in the background here. And as I start to bump into the orbs that I've placed, I'm going to hollybore my lines behind. So just imagine where they would go, lift my pen and have them drawing out the other side. So here is my texture that's starting to appear. If you've seen my video on the tangle static, it's not dissimilar to that, I suppose. The kind of repetitive lines that create a background sort of texture. I'll try and remember to link to that in the comments. Obviously this has similarities with this tangle with the pattern tipple, which you may also have seen me do a video on previously. And it's, I suppose, a mashup of the two, but you can really do some interesting things. Yeah, you can really do some interesting things with, both of those patterns together. And sort of they interact interestingly to create this cool kind of texture. And as your lines, I find that my swirls tend to get a little kind of misshapen as they go, but that's all part of the creating that pattern and all part of the fun. And then I'm just going to repeat these final few auras on this side before working on the other side. So I'm going to turn my tile and I'm going to draw on this side. I like to draw my auras so that I have the thing that I'm auraing on the left and my hand is pointing in towards that line because I am right-handed. So you can hold your tile however is comfortable for you and kind of structure the way that you draw depending on what is comfortable for you, because that's the most important thing with Zentangle, is that we're relaxed and enjoying this process. So just taking it nice and slow and enjoying watching these auras come together. So you can see some of my swirly lines have kind of run out of space, and then as I am hollyboring them behind my orbs, they are like, the angle tends to get a little bit different, but you can kind of structure how you want them to come out when you're just doing different parts of the lines, and this curve is obviously now behind here. So you might like to just add a couple extra in to try and get a bit more of an angle on the curve if you want to. Here we go. So you can kind of sculpt them a little bit, because if the lines don't all match up perfectly, like no one can tell when it's a background texture. There we go. Okay, so I've got a nice interesting pattern emerging here, and what I'm going to do is cap my pen, and now I'm going to grab my pencil. And there's a couple of ways I like to shade this. So with our orbs, obviously they are kind of the star of the show almost. And so I like to just decide which sort of way up I like this. I think I'm going to do it this way. And then I'm going to add a nice chunk of graphite below and sort of on one side of each of these orbs. And that's going to really lift them away from the background and kind of make it look like they're floating above this texture that we've created for them. Like so. And I'm going to soften that, so just go in and soften that graphite. And you can, if you want to, leave it at that, and maybe shade around the edges to create some cushion shading for the rest of that texture. I also like to add a little curve with the residual graphite on my tortillon, just to give my orbs a bit more shape. Like so. And you can, as I say, you can leave it like that. I think that looks really effective already. But the other thing that I quite like to do is if you take a look at your wiggly lines and hold them up so that you can see kind of a line travelling down like this. And it's nice to just kind of try and define that a little more. So I'm going to place some graphite along kind of these columns that are formed by these lines, and kind of treat them as if there's one here, so follow the lines of the curves. So this would be, the other one is going up this side, and then this one would be on this side here. And by doing that, what we're doing here is kind of creating almost texture and depth within that texture as well. So you can keep this shading fairly light and keep your shading for your orbs a little bolder, and you can always go back in and add more. But doing this just adds a little bit more interest to the pattern as a whole, I think. And it kind of gives it a bit more of a kind of a background texture too. So you can obviously then just go back in and just restate some of this graphite that's merging in there with the other shading. But that is how I like to draw the Tangle Nipa. I hope you enjoyed that little mini lesson. I certainly enjoyed tangling it for you. Do show me what you do with this one. I'd love to see any tiles that you come up with that contain Nipa. So you can tag me at ivies_corner_arts or use the hashtag iviescorner. You can also do hit like and subscribe to this video if you enjoyed it. I post more videos regularly so you can keep up to date with what's coming next on my channel. And join my mailing list as well. I'll pop the link in the description for you. You can sign up to my mailing list where I send you lots of Zentangle goodness and I keep you up to date with what's going on in the Zentangle world. So thank you so much for following along today, and I will see you next time.